All right, welcome back. So this is day one, video two. In this video, we're going to take our first real step towards building a to-do app, and we're going to learn how to store multiple items in JavaScript using something called an array. And by the end of this lesson, you'll know how to create a list of to-dos and more. So let's jump in. So first, before we get started, in previous video, if you skipped ahead, you might not have seen it, but in previous video, we talked about, well, what are we really trying to do in this course? What we're trying to do is think of questions and use the tools at our disposal to get the information that we need. So we want to start to become self-sufficient. And so what happened in my experience with when going through tutorials and getting myself into tutorial how was that I kept looking for the videos to tell me what to do instead of finding the information myself. And so here in our last video, we added some variables and we played around a little bit. We stored some information uh, in a string or in a we stored a string in a variable. We worked a little bit with template literals to like output a variable inside of a string. And we found out, well, some limitations with that. Um, but basically, now we've got all this stuff here. We don't have we have all this stuff. How do I clear this console? Is that possible? Could I clear it? So I'm going to open up a new tab. I'm going to Google, how do I clear console in Chrome? Control L, clear function, JavaScript. I want to try that. Console clear. Shortcut. Let's try console.clear. I'll head back over here. Console.clear. And then I'm putting these parentheses on it. All right. Now, do I still have my variables? Okay. So if I clear the console, I don't have access to those variables anymore. Let's just try clear. That doesn't work. Clear function. So only console worked for me. What about this control L? So let's let main equal JSON again. Okay, and then control, we'll type in main. That shows us what's in it, but we didn't really print it to the console. We can print it to the console by using console log. This can be helpful when we get into the developer environment, then we are going to be able to use console logs to kind of show us in the console what's happening in our program. So this will become, well, let's just say name and put that. And then we're going to output the variable name. So now it's output something to the console, and we can kind of see the difference here. It's got this little reference like that output. This just kind of printed it to the screen as part of the REPL. So now we know we can type in console.clear and we'll put these parentheses. And so what are those parentheses when I do that? That is telling us that this console.log, saying that this log is a function. So when we want to run a function, we use these parentheses. Now, what can happen is we can send parameters or variables through to the function. We can pass those variables into the function. We'll get into that a little bit later. So right now, let's get back to our to-do list. The to-do list is going to be a list of things. So let's say I have an item. Okay. And I want my item that I need to get. This is a to-do item. And I want the item to be, what is the thing that I need to do? I need to go to the store today. I got to do that. I'm hungry. Okay. Now, item now is go to the store. Now, I have another thing that I want to do, right? I want to create another variable to store some information. I'm going to say this is going to be item number one. And that's different than item. And it's going to be paint the toolbox. William. Definitely want to get that done today. What else? You know what? Let's add another item. So now I've got clean my room. Boys and girls, if you haven't today, clean your room, clean your room. And we got that. So that is item, we got go. So what was item one? Okay, it was paint the toolbox, right? So this works. But as we can see, if we have lots of things to do, I'm creating a new variable every time. And I have to remember what the variables are called. And if I wanted to output all of these, then I have to do something like console.log, and then I have to put in item. What was the item? And I have to say item, right? And it says go to the store, which is great, but I can't easily output all of them without doing that, right? Like, there's nothing for me to like loop over or iterate over. I have to say like, I have to always know what those things are. So what if I had one variable that contained lots of items? So that in our case is going to be an array. So we can say, I want to make an array, and I'm going to say, let to-dos equal, and then I'm going to put in these brackets. Now, if I put in to-dos, I see I have an empty array. Okay. It's an array of length 0, and it says prototype, and then we see it's got all of these different methods that I can use, or functions I can use with array. So I could say there's a attribute, a property on this called length. So let's type in to-dos.length. All right, it told me 0. There's nothing in there. Now, what if I want to add something in there? Does there an add? Kind of looking through here. I don't really see an add. So I want to try to find out that information. So how do I add an item to an array? JavaScript. So I should have probably put JavaScript in there, but it says typically done with push. In Python, it's a pin. Okay, well, just kind of storing that in there, and let's try it. So we learned that we've got this object to-dos, and object, that's kind of a keyword. That's something that may or may not touch on. But anyway, we've got this object, and then we've got a method on the object called push, and I want to add something with it. So let's put in there the thing that I wanted to do, go to the store. All right. To-dos push, go to the store. To-dos is not defined. I thought we created a to-dos. Am I in the wrong console? maybe I cleared it. So console dot clear. I'm going to say let to-dos equal an empty array. I'm going to say to-dos dot push. And I'm going to send a string, go to the store, hit tab, autocomplete that, and it's returned to me the number 1. And so it's returning to me the link. Let's try to add something else. To-dos dot length. I can kind of prove that something went in there. Oh, it gave me to-dos dot push. All right. And let's say we wanted to buy noodles. Okay. I put that in there when I was messing around with this earlier. You won't really have that. So let's do what we said before. Paint the toolbox with Florian. Really young. All right. So now we're starting to make some progress here. We're adding things to the to-do list. Okay. So if I type in to-dos, I see I've got an array with 2 items in the array. Now, what if I want to just see what's the first thing in the array? All right. I can use this syntax to say, these brackets to say which item I want to say. So I want to get, let's say, the first one, but if I put a 1 in here, it's telling me paint the toolbox, but that's in the second position. Now this brings up a point where the arrays are indexed in a zero-based numbering system. So it's going to start with 0. So the first position in an array is the 0 position or 0 index. We're going to call the place in the array an index. So if I put in there to-dos bracket 0, it's going to give me the first index of the array, which is go to the store. All right, so now we've got this array. So you should be adding some things. Let's get 3 things in there because that's going to be more fun. 3 is a good number. So let's remember what we did before. To-dos.push. We're going to use this method to add something to our array, and it's going to be clean my room. All right, so now we've got 3 things. So when we're doing an array, or when we're doing the to-do list, we're going to be wanting to interact with the array a little bit. I mean, we're going to want to interact with the to-do list. When we complete something, we want to remove it. And so we're going to talk about those things and more in the next video, and we'll see you there.